3 years on, and the Manipur is still burning. What began in May of 2023 as ethnic violence between Meitei and Kuki communities has now turned into one of India's longest running conflict in recent years. And the latest development shows that this is far from over. Fresh incidents of violence, sporadic firing, renewed tensions have only once again been reported from vulnerable districts. Security forces remain heavily deployed. Internal restrictions have also been reimposed in phases. And just days ago, protesters clashed with police in Imphal, demanding a resolution to the conflict after fresh incidents of violence. In April, at least 4 people were killed, including 2 children, after a bomb attack and subsequent clashes, forcing curfews and shutdowns in the state yet again. Security forces continue to remain on high alert, even as recently diffusing explosive devices in Churanchandpur continue to make headlines, underlining the ongoing nature of threat in Manipur. Daily life remains disrupted, with bunds shutting down districts, reflecting persistent instability. And over the past 3 years, more than 250 to 260 people have been killed. 60,000 people have been displaced. Despite the change in government earlier this year, attempts at peace talks, the core issues still remain unresolved. Land rights, identity and deep mistrust between communities still persist. Now, there are also continuing concerns over armed groups and access to weapons, sporadic attacks and retaliation, as well as weak restoration of normalcy. Even now, incidents like bomb attack, protests and security operations show that the conflict is contained but only managed, not over. And almost 2 years later now, the situation in Manipur remains fragile, with peace still uncertain and stability yet to fully return. Joining me on the show is Professor Prasenjit Biswas, Professor of Philosophy, Northeastern Hill University. Hejang Misao, social activist, will be joining us very, very shortly. PK Mishra, former ADG, BSF, is with us, and T. Michael Hopkin is also with us. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out for joining us. Professor Biswas, I want to come to you first. What does normalcy look like today? 3 years on, Manipur is still burning. There are sporadic violence incidents that continue to come to light. What is the situation on ground looking like to you right now?
Right now, as you have rightly said, the situation is very, very tense. Those security forces have a kind of a grasp over the situation, and they are able to control the situation. But one thing that remains extremely fragile is the sudden kind of an upsurge of the civil society groups in the form of certain organizations that articulate a kind of an ethnic tone in order to defend their respective communities. So ethnicity remains as the most contestable factor here. And centering that factor, there is always a kind of a assertion and counter-assertion about certain political demands as well. Center has conducted a very successful round of talks with Kuki groups who are under suspension of operation yesterday only on 1st of May. And whatever emanated after the talk is pretty encouraging that Center is thinking of a political solution to the problem. So the line of thinking is that the two communities have to be separated in a certain way, though the state need not be broken. Though the Kuki community has demanded, the Kuki community groups have demanded a union territory with a legislature. Now, this is under consideration in the central government. As opposed to this, the Meitei groups are not at all in agreement with the Kuki groups. So you can see, unless there is a political consensus, there will be skirmishes, there will be misunderstanding, there will be a kind of an outrage on the slightest conflagration, which can happen from any of the sides. So slight provocation is required, and then it turns into a big melee. This is what has been happening in Manipur. And the state government is not able to control this kind of an outrages that are coming from respective communities. So center has to play its role in order to stop communities from fighting with each other. That's the current situation now.
All right, the centre has to actively intervene and it continues to do so. T. Michael Howkip is also with us. If I were to ask you, Michael, today, years after years, it's been almost 3 years now since the skirmishes began. Many people have been displaced. The communities remain divided on ground. What does normalcy even look like to you? What is the normalcy that perhaps the groups are trying to achieve here? And is it possible with the current, the current discourse and the current political scenario?
Uh, Sporadic incident type of violence seems to be a new normal in Manipur at this moment in time. So, but in the long run, this will not be able to sustain because government of India have been engaging with various peace and anti-peace parties. So basically, uh, all the communities, all the stakeholders have been engaged by the government of India. So I think one day or someday, sooner or later, uh, the tolerance or of the people will definitely be over, and by that time, the pro-peace people will take over the anti-peace. But sincere and honest dealing needs to be there from both the government of Manipur as well as government of Indian side. So far, both Indian government and Manipur government have engaged only few exclusive people. They have not, the Manipur government as well as the Indian government have always asserted that Manipur is a home for all the 36 communities, but they have not engaged any of the 36 communities. They have engaged only some few gangs or few anti-peace groups who are having some weapons to assert their aims and objective, coming up with different demands. At this point in time, Manipur have got 4 competing demands. One week, Zhalengrong United Front having statehood demand, and the Sioux groups having union territory demands, the Nagas and SCNIM having Greater Nagalim, and the Meitei insurgent group having the sovereignty demands. So these 4 demands are coming up, and the government of India is engaging in one state, in one territory. So at this point in time, taking advantage of the volatile situation, anti-peace people are trying to sabotage the restoration process. So I think normalcy will definitely prevail because government of India knew it very well. It is only a matter of time when the right people and the right stakeholders are engaged by the government, sincerely and honestly, I think peace will prevail.
Okay, well, we hope the peace prevails. That's the motive and that's the objective. PK Mishra, do you believe the situation as we're looking at it currently gradually improving on ground, or do you think this is a stalemate? As Professor Biswas pointed out, that one needs a political solution and a solution which is conducive to all communities. Right now, all communities have a variety of demands. Many of these demands are competing at this moment. Are you looking at this situation as a controlled stalemate, or do you think this is how Manipur is likely to be going forward?
Sweta, I can well tell you there is a stalemate now, definitely. The Honorable Chief Minister is there only for the last 2 months, and neither the earlier Chief Minister, either Mr. Ibobi or N. Biren Singh, could do anything to sustain and to uh, look into the distress between these 2 communities. Nothing could happen. I can well tell you, we had problem at Visnupur and Churachandpur and Imphal East and Park West. Now you see what has happened. The whole of Visnupur is burning. The Ukhrul is burning. The new conflict between Tamphul Naga and Kukis have started. And you see today what has happened at More. I'm giving you another information. The More is also boiling. All the Kuki communities in More, they are also sitting on strike. So things are difficult. And I'm very sure the central government and the state government, they are trying their best to see that all the communities, they sit together and the peace should prevail. But there are some problems, I can tell you, in your channel. I am telling several times for the last 3 years, I am telling this situation cannot repeat, cannot improve in Manipur until and unless Myanmar border of Manipur is not fenced and it's not deployed with a border guarding force in BOP concept. Until and unless it is not being done, peace will never come to Manipur because now the weapons are still coming. from Myanmar. Now the drugs are still coming from Myanmar. Now the poppy cultivation has started again in Manipur. So I'm very sure central government knows it. And after this Bengal election result is over, I'm very sure there will be an operation in Manipur because it is required also in the hills and in the border. The operation will be conducted, and the troops, they are coming, they are falling back from Manipur, and their operations will be conducted because what has happened in Kashmir, the similar way we have to look into this. The political parties must converge because the chief minister and all the party members, they are trying their best. Even the central government is also trying the best. But the problem is both the way we have to proceed. It is not only the political discussion to start, it is also political discussion with operations in the hills and operation in the border. That is what is required.
But, you know,
yes.
Mr. P.K. Mishra, as Michael Howkip also pointed out, that, the allegations that the system, the machinery is only listening to a certain few groups, those allegations continue to persist. The fact that, the allegations that there is bias in policing, that there is bias that the system has exhibited, would you agree that the systems perhaps did not act fairly to begin with?
Yeah, but I can well tell you in the beginning, that's what in 2023 and 22, things are different with Manipur rifles and also with a few forces which were deployed that time, but things are much better now. And I'm very sure the coordination with all police forces have started and they are doing much better. And I will again definitely give a demand that like that of Srinagar, there should be a central command. Until unless we don't do that, because you see all the paramilitary forces and the Manipur rifle, they have their operations different in a different way and getting intelligence from the field in a different manner. So the coordinated operation, coordinated movement, along with the peace process and taking into consideration of all the communities, these operations must continue. Like in Kashmir, we did it, and this is required. And I'm sure all this now the forces which are there, they are definitely they are liked by the community and they are not biased. They are I'm not going to tell about any particular security force, but most of them they are doing their best. I'm very sure the central government is going to deploy many forces immediately to check into these border problems and the drug problem, and the main thing is the weapons which are already there.
Yeah.
With I'll tell them with the militants. Those who are keeping the weapons, they are militants. Either they should be shot or they should be asked to deposit their weapons.
Yeah.
And this is what
the persistent mistrust, Mr. Mishra, the fact that one community believes the other has weapons, so if we give up our weapons, who will defend us? This continuous... Yes.
No, every community is having weapons. Sweta, I don't agree.
Exactly. Sure. That is what I'm saying. Since every community has weapons, one believes that our community gives up the weapons, the other community will still have the weapons.
Either you deposit the weapons or Jogi model. That's the only thing which is required in Manipur. Until and unless we don't close the border and we don't follow Jogi model in Manipur, peace will never come. I go for that and it still vows for that.
Right. It's a very complex problem, Professor Biswas. Yes. Professor Biswas, it's a very complex problem, but fact of the matter is that there's been governance failure. For the conflict to have escalated for this long, for 3 long years, the governance has failed to contain the conflict. In your assessment, what is that single biggest failure to begin with, where perhaps the government could have cracked down at the very beginning so that it would not have elongated this long? It wouldn't have seen 3 years of a running conflict in Manipur.
Yeah, the first thing is not just the crackdown, but it's actually the conflict is of political nature. The political solution for the conflict needed to be evolved from the grassroots level. As my good friend who Michael had already said, that the engagement should not be only with some select groups, but engagement should be with the right groups, which includes the civil society groups. And that's where probably there's a lacuna, because civil society groups were talking in very belligerent terms with each other, be it Kokomi, be it on the other side Kuki civil society groups, and now it is Naga civil society groups, who all are articulating a very belligerent position. And my friend Michael had rightly called it anti-peace kind of people. Now, those who are not in favor of peace, they seem to be larger on the table. But nevertheless, they can be turned towards peace by granting them certain kind of a political solution, by acceding to some of their political demands. Now, that kind of a engineering, which is largely political, needs to be done. That is one part, and which was a major failure. The second part is no coordination between security forces, as Mishra Sahab has already pointed out.
Yeah.
And some security forces acted in a biased manner, as you have rightly pointed out. So we have to take all these factors into account and probably work out a more cogent policy towards how to handle the existing crisis and existing policy failures. And one of the major policy failure is failure to rehabilitate those who are displaced. And we need to rehabilitate them at the right earnest. That would have created a more humanitarian sense of security. Human security would have gone higher had we rehabilitated, had we treated well people who are displaced due to conflict. Now, these people are left in the lurch to fend for themselves even in many cases. And there is hardly any government oversight on their condition. So this is a kind of a total failure of the relief and rehabilitation mechanism. The responsibility of which squarely goes to the political leaders, to the government at every level, to the local level, to the central government level. And that's a massive, massive failure that needs to be now actually addressed, and for which you require all kinds of support. You need to bring together peace activists, social scientists, political activists, the ex-army generals like Mishra ji, and all others, so that there is a big peace model in Manipur. It has to be given urgent importance in the interest of our whole country. And that's not happening. That's the regret.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Urgent intervention, and that seems to be missing. 3 years and continuing. Michael, the reports that groups have access to arms, that they have weapons, that there are armed groups, which often result in civilians getting caught in the crossfire. Those reports continue to be alarming, and agnostic of whichever group you're from, when civilians die, when innocent people die, it's ultimately loss of innocent blood. Now, Chief Minister is very new, is very fresh, has only been in power for about 2 months now. But what is your single biggest expectation of him today?
The present Chief Minister talks about this entire system or conflict is because of mistrust. Yeah, I agree. But mistrust means rule of law must prevail. Then only all communities will have trust in the government. That he needs to improve first. So I should believe the government, and anybody should believe the government. Dr. Prasanjit or anybody has to believe in the system, that is the government. So community level will come later on, that he has to bridge. So I expect that the present government improve the mistrust which the people of Manipur, irrespective of which any communities have. For that, rule of law must prevail. There is no rule of law anymore in the hills, in the valleys. That becomes a problem. Everybody is apprehensive. That's why we took up arms for self-defense. Anytime anything can happen. So the biggest challenge which the Chief Minister must have is he needs to build up the trust from the people of Manipur in his government. So I expect that he will improve in that way. And then comes the community level understanding. So Manipur people needs to believe in the rule of law, as India is a land of law. So I expect that Chief Minister will take care that his government get the trust of the people of Manipur.
Absolutely. The government, the Chief Minister, his government has to earn the trust of the people. P.K. Mishra, tens of thousands of people still, remain in relief camp. Many people have not been rehabilitated, as Professor also pointed out. What are some of the immediate steps that the government needs to take to ensure their safe return and their safety? These people are homeless. These people have been caught in the crossfire. Some of them have nothing to do really with what's happening on ground. These are common civilians with little to no interest sometimes in politics, but about their daily sustenance. They're not able to get that daily sustenance in Manipur. What action should government take today to rehabilitate some of these people?
Yes, Sweta, I can well tell you it's a very poor thing that till now we are having more than 15,000 people, those who are displaced, they are still there to return to their homes. we have to ensure they get their full help, their home build their homes. They should get the security. We have enough forces in Manipur. In fact, after this, before this Bengal election, Manipur was the state, even it was having more force than even Kashmir. So we have enough force to protect them. Number one, they should be protected in that area, whether it is Kukis in Meitei area, whether Meitei is in Kuki area, whether that is either in Bishnupur or Churachandpur or Thobal or Impal East or Impal West or More, all these persons, they should go back to their home and they should be protected. In fact, we have to see their protection. Protection can be done if all the political parties, they get together. Number one, they should be protected. Number two, they should be helped to go back to their place, and they have to be given the funds to construct their houses, and their children, they have to be looked after. Their health hazard should be looked after. Everything has to be looked after for those 15,000 people, those who are still there. And it can only be done if particularly the chief minister and all the party leaders, they come together and they sit together and they must find it out how to take them, how to, whether it is in Bishnupur, Churachandpur or Impal, how to protect them and how to send them there to their homes. That is a big factor which the chief, and I'm very sure with the chief minister, he is the only chief minister who can go to all areas. He has visited More, he has visited Henglef, he has visited Churachandpur, he has visited Ukhrul. He is the person who is going, he is accepted by all the communities, and I'm very sure that the chief minister can definitely, he will be successful in getting all the political parties together. And first of all, we have to ensure these people, those who are there in the camps, they go back to their houses safe. Number one is how, you see, right, like in Kashmir, the Pandits are giving security in Kashmir. They are being given security in Kashmir. So why we cannot give it? If we need another 10 companies or 20 companies or 30 companies of forces to give their security to them, we must provide, so that their morale is up and they get full support from the state government and central government. That is the first thing we have to do.
All right.
First and foremost thing.
All right, absolutely. Law and order, I think that's going to be the first priority, should be the first priority of the current Chief Minister. And only then perhaps you can build consensus, where it's a difficult road ahead for people of Manipur, as the state remains very fragile right now. And all eyes, of course, it's been 3 years since that conflict began. It still remains unabated. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time out.
Thank you then.
Professor Biswas, PK Misra and Michael Hopkin, thank you for taking time out.